So President Biden over the weekend gave his son Hunter the most expansive pardon in American history. He said that he cannot be scrutinized and found guilty of the violation of any federal crime for the course of the last 11 years. For the last 11 years. And now we get this update from Politico, published a story yesterday, indicating that the Biden White House is in the midst of discussing a range of so-called preemptive pardons, yet again, for what they describe as those in Trump's crosshairs. And that includes people like Adam Schiff, Liz Cheney, and Dr. Anthony Fauci. Blanket pardons. They don't describe why. They just say blanket pardons because Trump might target them? On what basis? What crime did Anthony Fauci commit that you think is deserving of a pardon? For more on this, Karol Markowicz joins us now. She's a columnist for the New York Post, the host of the Karol Markowicz Show, and the co-author of the book Stolen Youth, How Radicals Are Erasing Innocence and Indoctrinating a Generation. Karol, good to have you back with us.
Hi, Vince. So nice to be on with you.
Okay, so Anthony Fauci will get a sweeping pardon for what?
Well, that's interesting, right? Because what we got from the Hunter pardon is that he's clearly guilty of crimes that we don't know about. Why else would you do it for 11 years? Why would it be so expansive? But what would Anthony Fauci need a pardon for? And that would mean something really serious. It would mean a crime has been committed. It can't just be misleading the American public, which he absolutely did. It can't just be, politicizing the response to COVID, which he absolutely did. None of that makes sense as a pardon. So it has to be something really, really egregious for this to work. And I would love to know what that would be.
Yes. So to what extent has he benefited financially from all of this chaos?
Right.
What did he lie to us about throughout the pandemic? What was the relationship to the Wuhan Institute of Virology? To what extent was he covering up for China? All of the vaccine and the work he did with the pharmaceutical companies. Karol, this seems like a target-rich environment for an enterprising federal investigation.
Right. That's exactly it. Like once you start pulling at that thread, you just can't, you don't know where it's going to end up. I was thinking about that he first said the schools should open, and then he said schools can only open once Biden's spending bill passed. What was that change of heart about? Was it just political pressure, or was there more involved? And so because we don't know, I think the idea of this, preemptive blanket pardon is unserious. I can't see Biden actually going through with it. But the fact that he even floated it, I understand that the perspective is supposed to be like we're supposed to be afraid of Donald Trump, going after his political enemies and that kind of thing. But what he succeeded in doing here is opening the door and saying, it looks like Fauci may have committed some crimes that he would need that pardoning for. It's really, if I'm Anthony Fauci, I'm actually not at all happy about Biden floating this.
I'm not a lawyer, but I will raise this thing that's been in my mind. I'm not really certain that this is really a constitutional way to use the pardon power. I get it. Mm-hmm. Ford used it for Nixon this way. And since then, we've all sort of accepted it that you can pardon someone for something that hasn't actually been tried in court. And now he's done it with Hunter Biden. And now they want to do it with like a huge cast of characters that strikes me as fundamentally undemocratic, actually. And for the party that keeps crowing about threats to democracy, why are they creating special privileges for the people who are loyal to the regime?
Well, that's absolutely right. And I think what the American people should demand at this point is a real investigation into what Fauci did during that time. Now, this has opened the door to that question of, should Trump investigate Fauci? Yes, he absolutely should. Should his White House really look into how Fauci benefited during that entire period of time? And really just to make sure that nothing like this happens again. We can't let public officials run our system the way Anthony Fauci did. He really had a little fiefdom going where he was able to implement policies on such a level that we had really not seen before. So if nothing else, I think that Donald Trump should go after Fauci and investigate him and find out what it is Biden wants to pardon him of, for us not to repeat this mistake again.
This is interesting. In the Politico piece, I feel like this is a sleeper element of the Politico piece, but I want to raise it with you, Karol Markowicz. They say that the West Wing deliberations about pardoning all of these people, Cheney, Schiff, Anthony Fauci, have been organized by the White House counsel, Ed Siskel, and include a range of other aides, including Chief of Staff Jeff Zients. The president himself, who is intensely focused on his own son's pardon, has not been brought into the broader pardon discussions yet, according to people familiar with the deliberations. Okay, that paragraph to me, Karol, reads like Biden isn't actually like with it enough to even handle the maneuverings that they're doing here. And these are his puppet masters who are organizing who's going to get pardons next.
That's right. And look, it's been this way for a long time. Biden's been out to lunch for at least a year, if not more. And I think that we've known that it hasn't been him running the country. But to hear, to see that in Politico so blatantly, I think that is eye-opening. I also think that the addition of Schiff and Cheney are almost there to obscure the Fauci name, because what could they possibly be held, criminally just guilty of? So I don't know that those names necessarily mean anything. I think they were just added to kind of say, oh, it's just all people that Trump might oppose. But we really know that Anthony Fauci is a name on there that makes the most sense.
I know. And what's funny is it was yesterday morning, I was talking to Daily Caller colleagues, and we were just having this open conversation. Do you think he'll do it for other people besides Hunter? And of course, the family members came up, and then we started talking about Fauci. I'm like, what if he does it for Fauci? Literally by that afternoon, I don't know, maybe they were listening in. I hope not. But Anthony Fauci, and you've got, and it's not just, and maybe the idea in part at the Daily Caller was spurred on by the fact that you've got Obama bros who do this podcast. All these Obama veterans, and they've been openly advocating for that. They have been openly saying that the Biden people should pardon Fauci. Why are the Obama people so vested in that?
Right. I that's the other question, is who else would be involved in any kind of Fauci cover-up? It can't just be him. Somebody had to, been involved on a number of levels. If he was paid for any things that he wasn't supposed to be paid for, somebody paid him. And if he was given political guidance that he wasn't supposed to act on, somebody gave that to him. All of that is, it would really amount to other people being involved in his crimes. Maybe that pardon list should be even longer than the Biden White House is currently floating.
Yeah, wow. It's just so wild. Thank you for covering it as always, Karol Markowicz. You make the world a better place
so much,
over at the New York Post.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.